The morning alarm rang through the sleeping quarters of Europa Station at exactly 600 hours. Sarah Chen rolled out of her narrow bunk and stretched her arms above her head. Today was the day she had been waiting for since she first arrived at the Terran Military Academy 3 years ago, the final tactical simulation before graduation. Sarah was 22 years old and had worked harder than anyone else in her class to earn the position of squad leader. She was not the tallest or the strongest cadet, but she was smart and never gave up. Her instructors had noticed this early on and pushed her to do better every day. "Chen, you ready for this?" called out Marcus Webb from across the room. Marcus was her second in command and had become her closest friend during their time at the academy. He was tall and always made jokes even when things got serious. "Born ready?" Sarah replied with a grin. She pulled on her blue cadet uniform and checked her reflection in the small mirror. Her black hair was pulled back in a tight ponytail, and her dark eyes showed the determination she felt inside. The 6 cadets who made up Squad Theta had been training together for 6 months. Besides Sarah and Marcus, there was Jake Morrison, their communications specialist who could fix anything electronic. Emma Rodriguez handled weapons systems and had the best aim in their class. Tom Bradley was their engineer and could solve any technical problem in minutes. Finally, there was Lisa Park, their navigator who never got lost even in the most complex star charts. They met in the mess hall for breakfast, all talking excitedly about the day ahead. The simulation would test everything they had learned about space combat, leadership, and working as a team. It was designed to be the hardest challenge they would face before becoming real officers. "I heard they upgraded the AI opponents this year," Emma said between bites of her protein bar. "Supposedly they fight like real aliens now, not just following simple attack patterns." "Good," Tom replied, adjusting his glasses. "The old simulations were getting too easy. We need something that will actually challenge us." Jake looked up from his tablet where he was reviewing communication protocols. "My cousin graduated 2 years ago and he said the final sim was nothing compared to real combat. Maybe this new AI will be better practice." Sarah listened to her team talk and felt proud of each of them. They had all improved so much since their first clumsy attempts at working together. Now they moved like a real military unit, each person knowing exactly what the others would do before they did it. Lieutenant Commander Harrison walked into the mess hall, and the cadets immediately stood at attention. He was their primary instructor and had served in real combat missions against pirates in the outer systems. His face always looked serious, but Sarah had learned that he cared deeply about preparing them for the real world. "Squad Theta, report to Docking Bay 7 in 30 minutes, Harrison announced. "Your simulation vessel is the TAS Meridian, a retrofitted Hawk-class frigate. You will have full access to all ship systems, but remember that this is still a training exercise. The safety protocols are active, so no real damage can occur to your ship or crew." The cadets exchanged excited glances. The Meridian was much larger than the small patrol boats they usually trained in. It had real weapon systems, advanced sensors, and even a small crew quarter section. "Sir, what is our mission objective?" Sarah asked. Harrison's expression remained neutral. "You will receive your briefing once you are aboard and underway. Your enemy will be a mixed force of AI-controlled vessels using new tactical programming. Expect them to be more aggressive and unpredictable than previous simulations." After Harrison left, the squad finished their breakfast quickly and headed to the equipment lockers. Each cadet put on their pressure suit and checked their personal gear. The pressure suits were lightweight, but could keep them alive if the ship lost atmosphere during the simulation. Docking Bay 7 was one of the smaller bays on Europa Station, located near the training facilities. When they arrived, Sarah saw the Meridian waiting for them. The ship was about 100 meters long and looked like it had seen better days. Its hull was scratched and dented from years of training exercises, but all the important systems had been recently updated. "She is not much to look at, but she will do the job," Marcus said as they walked up the boarding ramp. The inside of the Meridian was cramped but functional. The bridge was located at the front of the ship and had 6 stations arranged in a circle. Sarah took the captain's chair in the center, while her team took their positions around her. Jake sat at the communications console and immediately began checking all the channels. Emma moved to the weapons station and started running diagnostics on the ship's laser cannons and missile systems. Tom took the engineering position and began monitoring the ship's power systems and engines. Lisa settled in at navigation and started plotting possible courses through the training area. Marcus took the tactical station where he could coordinate their overall strategy. All stations report ready, Sarah announced after everyone had finished their initial checks. The training area was located several hours away from Europa Station in an empty region of space. There were no planets or asteroids, just the vast darkness between stars. It was the perfect place for combat simulations because there was nothing valuable that could be accidentally damaged. As the Meridian undocked from the station and began its journey to the training area, Sarah felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. This was their last chance to prove they were ready to become real officers. After graduation, they would be assigned to different ships and might not serve together again. "Contact from Control," Jake announced. "We are cleared for departure and should reach the exercise area in 3 hours." Sarah settled back in her chair and watched the stars move past on the main screen. Europa Station grew smaller behind them until it was just another point of light. Soon they would be alone in space with only their skills and teamwork to rely on. "So what do you think they will throw at us?" Lisa asked during the journey. "Probably multiple waves of enemies with different ship types," Emma replied. "Maybe some that try to ram us or use unusual weapons." Tom nodded. "The new AI programming is supposed to make them think more like real opponents." "They might try tricks we have never seen before." Marcus leaned back in his chair. "Whatever they send at us, we have trained for this. We know each other's strengths and we work well together. The simulation might be harder, but we are ready." Sarah smiled at her team's confidence. They had earned the right to feel this way through months of hard work and dedication. Whatever challenges waited for them in the training area, they would face them together. As the hours passed and they drew closer to their destination, none of them knew that their simulation would soon become something far more real and dangerous than any of them could imagine. The morning had started like any other training day, but by evening, Squad Theta would make history in ways they never expected. The Meridian continued through space toward what they thought would be just another exercise. Behind them, Europa Station fell away into the darkness, and ahead lay an encounter that would change everything they thought they knew about war, courage, and what it meant to be human among the stars. 3 hours later, the Meridian arrived at the training area, and Sarah felt her heart start beating faster. The space around them looked empty, but she knew that AI-controlled enemy ships could appear at any moment. "We have reached the exercise coordinates," Lisa announced from her navigation station. "All systems show normal readings." Jake suddenly looked up from his communications console with a puzzled expression. "That is strange. I am getting some weird signals on the long-range sensors. They do not match the usual simulation patterns," Sarah frowned. The training simulations always started the same way, with clear enemy contacts appearing on their screens. "What kind of signals, Jake?" "They look like real ship signatures, but that cannot be right. The briefing said this area was completely clear of traffic." Jake adjusted his controls and the signals became clearer. "Wait, I am reading 3 unknown contacts approaching from our starboard side." Emma checked her weapons display. "I see them too. They are about 50,000 kilometers away and closing fast. Their design does not match any ships in our training database." The main screen flickered and displayed 3 sleek vessels approaching the Meridian. They were unlike any human ships Sarah had ever seen. The hulls were smooth and curved, almost organic-looking. Strange blue lights pulsed along their sides in patterns that seemed almost alive. "Wow, they really improved the graphics for this simulation," Tom said admiringly. "Those ships look incredibly realistic." Marcus studied the tactical display. "The AI must be using new ship designs to keep us guessing. Look at how they are moving. It is not like the old predictable attack patterns." Sarah watched the approaching vessels with interest. The Academy's instructors were always trying new ways to challenge the cadets. These ships moved with a fluid grace that was completely different from human vessel designs. Someone had put a lot of work into making them look alien and threatening. "Contact distance 40,000 kilometers and closing," Lisa reported. "They are definitely heading straight for us." Sarah made her decision. "All right, people, this is what we trained for. Emma, power up weapon systems. Marcus, bring up defensive screens. Jake, try to establish communication with them according to standard first contact protocols." The team moved with practiced efficiency. Each cadet knew their job and performed it without hesitation. They had run similar exercises dozens of times, though never with such realistic-looking opponents. Jake worked at his console for several minutes before looking up with confusion. "This is really strange. I am getting response signals, but they are not in any language database I know. The computer cannot translate them at all." The programmers must have created a completely new alien language for this simulation, Emma said as she finished charging the ship's weapons. That is taking realism to a whole new level. On the main screen, the three alien vessels had arranged themselves in a formation that Sarah had never seen before. They moved with perfect coordination, like fish swimming together in the ocean. Their blue lights pulsed faster now, almost like they were communicating with each other. "They are scanning us," Tom reported from his engineering station. "I am reading some kind of energy beam focused on our ship. It feels like they are trying to analyze our systems." Sarah felt a thrill of excitement. This simulation was already more complex and interesting than any they had experienced before. The AI opponents were actually trying to gather intelligence about their capabilities, just like real enemies would do. "Distance 20,000 kilometers, Lisa announced. "They are slowing down but still approaching." Marcus studied his tactical display carefully. "Their formation is designed to surround us if we try to run. The AI is using advanced military tactics," Sarah nodded. "Then we will not run." Emma prepared to fire warning shots across their path. Standard procedure for unidentified vessels that ignore communication attempts. Emma's fingers danced across her controls. "Weapons ready." Targeting solution locked on empty space in front of the lead vessel. "Fire," Sarah ordered. The Meridian's laser cannons sent bright beams of energy across the bow of the nearest alien ship. In a real situation, this would be a clear warning to stop and identify themselves. In the simulation, it should trigger the AI's combat programming. What happened next surprised everyone on the bridge. Instead of attacking or retreating, the three alien vessels suddenly scattered in different directions, using maneuvers that seemed impossible. They moved without any visible thruster flames or energy signatures, almost like they were dancing through space. "How are they doing that?" Tom asked in amazement. "I cannot detect any propulsion systems at all." The alien ships regrouped quickly into a new formation and began moving toward the Meridian again, but now they approached from 3 different angles. Their movement was so smooth and coordinated that it looked like a carefully rehearsed performance. "Incoming transmission," Jake announced suddenly, "but it is not like any communication protocol I have ever seen. The signal is incredibly complex, almost like music." Sarah felt her pulse quicken. The simulation was becoming more challenging by the minute. "Put it on speakers. Let us hear what they are saying." Strange sounds filled the bridge, a mixture of tones and harmonics that rose and fell in patterns that seemed almost emotional. It was hauntingly beautiful but completely alien. "The computer still cannot translate it," Jake reported, "but there are definite patterns in the signal. It might be some kind of mathematical language." Emma looked up from her weapons console with concern. "Sarah, they are powering up some kind of energy weapons. I am reading massive power signatures from all 3 ships." The main screen showed the alien vessels glowing brighter as unknown energies built up within their hulls. Whatever weapons they carried were clearly more advanced than anything in the Meridian's database. Sarah felt a moment of uncertainty. The simulation was becoming more intense than she had expected. But her training took over and she quickly began issuing orders. "Lisa, plot an escape course back toward the station. Tom, transfer all available power to engines and shields. Marcus, analyze their formation for weak spots. Emma, prepare for defensive fire." The crew worked with desperate efficiency as the 3 alien ships continued their approach. The strange music from their communications grew louder and more urgent, almost like they were trying to warn the humans about something. "They are almost in weapons range," Emma reported. "I recommend we attack first before they can coordinate their assault." Sarah hesitated for just a moment. Something about this simulation felt different from all the others. The alien ships moved too realistically, their communication sounded too genuine, and their technology seemed too advanced for a simple training exercise. But her duty was clear. As squad leader, she had to protect her team and complete their mission. Whether this was the most advanced simulation ever created or something else entirely, they would face it together. "All weapons. Target the lead vessel," Sarah commanded. "Prepare for full combat engagement." The Meridian turned toward its opponents as the cadets prepared for battle. None of them realized that what they thought was an advanced training simulation was actually first contact with a real alien species. The Hegemony Scouts had been expecting to find an isolated human patrol vessel, not a group of young cadets who were about to change the course of interstellar history. As the first shots were fired in what would become known as the Cadet Incident, Both sides were completely unprepared for what was about to happen. The first exchange of weapons fire lit up the darkness of space like a deadly fireworks display. The Meridian's laser cannon struck the lead alien vessel, causing its shields to flare with brilliant colors that had never been seen in any human technology. "Direct hit," Emma called out excitedly. But their shields absorbed almost all the damage. These AI opponents are much tougher than the old ones. The alien ship responded immediately with a weapon that looked like liquid lightning. Purple energy flowed across space and struck the Meridian's shields, causing the entire ship to shake violently. "Damage report," Sarah shouted as she gripped her chair to stay upright. Tom's fingers flew across his engineering controls. "Forward shields down to 60%. That weapon uses some kind of energy pattern I have never seen before. The programmers really outdid themselves with these special effects." Marcus studied his tactical display as the three alien ships began moving in a complex pattern around the Meridian. "They are trying to get behind us." The AI is using advanced tactics. Each ship supports the others in a coordinated attack. Sarah watched the alien vessels dance through space with movements that seemed almost graceful. No human ship could maneuver like that, turning and accelerating without any visible thrust. The simulation technology had advanced far beyond anything she had imagined possible. "Jake, try to jam their communications," Sarah ordered. "If we can disrupt their coordination, we might be able to take them one at a time." Jake worked frantically at his console. "I am trying, but their communication system is unlike anything in our database. The signals are incredibly complex and seem to change frequency constantly." The second alien ship opened fire with a different weapon, beams of pure white energy that struck the Meridian from multiple angles. Each hit caused more damage to their shields and made the entire ship vibrate like a struck bell. "Shields down to 40%, Tom reported. "If they keep this up, we will be in real trouble." Emma launched a spread of missiles at the closest enemy vessel. The projectiles streaked through space trailing bright flames, but the alien ship avoided them with movements that seemed to defy physics. It twisted and spun through space like a leaf in the wind, never moving in a straight line long enough for the missiles to lock on. "How is it doing that?" Emma asked in frustration. "Those maneuvers should be impossible for any ship that size." Sarah felt sweat beading on her forehead despite the cool air on the bridge. This simulation was more challenging than anything they had faced before. The AI opponents seemed to anticipate their every move and respond with tactics that were completely outside human military doctrine. "Lisa, bring us around to heading 270, Sarah commanded. "We need to keep moving or they will surround us." The Meridian turned ponderously through space as the alien ships continued their attack. More energy weapons struck their shields, and warning lights began flashing on consoles throughout the bridge. "I am detecting more contacts on long-range sensors," Jake announced suddenly. "It looks like reinforcements are coming." Sarah's heart sank as she saw the tactical display. 6 more alien vessels were approaching from different directions, their sleek forms cutting through space with the same impossible grace as the first 3. 9 opponents total, Marcus calculated quickly. The simulation is really testing our limits now. The new alien ships arrived within minutes and immediately joined the battle. They moved in perfect coordination with the original 3, creating a complex web of overlapping fire that made it almost impossible for the Meridian to find a safe position. "Shields down to 20%, Tom called out as more energy weapons struck their hull. "I am rerouting power from non-essential systems, but I do not know how much longer we can take this punishment." Sarah's mind raced as she tried to think of a strategy that could work against so many opponents. In all their training exercises, they had never faced more than 4 enemy ships at once. 9 was almost impossible odds for a single frigate. "Emma, concentrate all firepower on the damaged ship," Sarah ordered. "If we can destroy one of them, it might disrupt their formation." Emma focused the Meridian's weapons on the alien vessel they had hit first. Laser cannons and missiles struck its shields repeatedly, causing them to flicker and weaken. For a moment it looked like they might score a victory. Then something unexpected happened. Instead of being destroyed, the damaged alien ship suddenly accelerated away from the battle at impossible speed. It moved so fast that it seemed to simply disappear from one location and reappear thousands of kilometers away. "Did you see that?" Lisa asked in amazement. "It just vanished and reappeared somewhere else." "How is that possible?" Tom checked his sensor readings with confusion. According to my instruments, it actually traveled that distance in less than a second. That would require technology far beyond anything humans have developed. The remaining alien ships responded to their companions' retreat by intensifying their attack. Energy weapons struck the meridian from all directions, overwhelming their weakened shields completely. "Shields are down," Tom shouted over the noise of alarms. "We are taking direct hits to the hull." Sarah felt real fear for the first time since the battle began. The simulation felt too realistic, too intense. The ship was shaking so violently that it was hard to stay in their seats, and the damage report sounded genuinely serious. "This cannot be just a simulation," Jake said suddenly, voicing what everyone was beginning to think. "The weapon impacts feel too real. I think our shields actually failed." Marcus looked up from his tactical station with worry. "Sarah, I am reading actual hull breaches on decks 3 and 4. If this is a simulation, how is the ship taking real damage?" Sarah's mind struggled to process what her team was telling her. Training simulations were designed to be completely safe. Safety protocols prevented any real damage to ships or crew members. But the evidence was mounting that something was very wrong. "Jake, try to contact Europa Station," Sarah ordered. "Tell them we need immediate assistance." Jake worked at his communications console for several minutes before looking up with alarm. "I cannot reach the station. All our long-range communications are being jammed by some kind of interference." The alien ships continued their relentless attack, their weapons striking the meridian again and again. Each hit caused more damage and made their situation more desperate. "Hull breaches on deck 2, Tom reported. "Life support is stable for now, but if they keep hitting us like this, we could lose atmosphere in the damaged sections." Sarah realized with growing horror that they were not in a simulation at all. Somehow, they had stumbled into a real battle with genuine alien ships. The enemy vessels around them were not AI constructs, but actual spacecraft piloted by beings from another world. "Listen to me, everyone," Sarah said, her voice steady despite her fear. "I think we are in real danger here. These might not be simulation opponents. We need to fight like our lives depend on it because they probably do." The bridge fell silent except for the sound of alarms and the vibration of weapons fire against their hull. Each cadet realized that their final training exercise had become something far more serious and deadly than any of them had imagined. "What are your orders, Captain?" Marcus asked, using Sarah's rank seriously for the first time. Sarah looked at the tactical display showing the 8 alien ships surrounding them. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and trapped far from any help. But they were still alive, and they still had a chance to fight back. "We are going to show these aliens what human cadets can do," Sarah said with determination. "Prepare for full combat operations. This is no longer an exercise." Sarah's declaration that they were no longer in a simulation changed everything on the bridge of the Meridian. The cadets looked at each other with new understanding and fear, but also with a determination that surprised even them. "If this is real, then we need to start thinking like real officers," Marcus said, his usual joking manner replaced by serious focus. "What would actual military tactics be against these ships?" Emma checked her weapons display with renewed intensity. "I still have 60% ammunition remaining, but their shields are much stronger than our weapons. We need to find a weakness." Tom was already working on the problem. "I have been analyzing their energy signatures. Each ship seems to have a different shield frequency. If we can match our weapons to those frequencies, we might be able to cause more damage." Sarah felt a surge of pride in her team. Even facing impossible odds against real alien enemies, they were thinking clearly and working together. Their 3 years of training were paying off when it mattered most. "Do it, Tom," Sarah ordered. "Emma, as soon as he gives you the new frequencies, target the closest ship with everything we have." The alien vessels continued their coordinated attack, but now Sarah noticed something she had missed before. They were not trying to destroy the Meridian quickly. Instead, they seemed to be testing human capabilities, learning how their technology worked. "Jake, are you still receiving those musical communications from them?" Sarah asked. Jake nodded, adjusting his controls. "The signals are getting more complex. It almost sounds like they are discussing something among themselves." "What if they are as surprised to find us here as we are to find them?" Lisa suggested. Maybe this encounter was not planned by either side. Sarah considered this possibility. If the aliens had not expected to find a human ship in this area, then they might be trying to figure out what to do with the Meridian and her crew. "New weapon frequencies ready," Tom announced. I have matched our laser cannons to their shield patterns. Fire, Sarah commanded. Emma's modified laser beam struck the nearest alien ship, and this time the results were dramatically different. The energy passed through their shields and scored direct hits on their hull. Strange sparks flew from damaged areas, and the ship's graceful movement became erratic. We hurt them, Emma shouted with excitement. The frequency matching worked, but their success brought immediate consequences. The damaged alien ship sent out a new musical signal, and suddenly all 8 remaining vessels turned their attention fully on the Meridian. The coordinated attack that followed was devastating. Energy weapons struck them from every direction. The ship's hull groaned under the impact, and more warning lights flashed across every console. The bridge lights flickered as power systems struggled to handle the overload. Hull breaches on multiple decks, Tom reported, his voice tight with stress. I am sealing off damaged sections, but we are losing a lot of ship. Sarah gripped her chair as another massive impact nearly threw her to the floor. Through the main view screen, she could see the alien ships moving closer, their weapons glowing with increasing intensity. They are not going to let us surrender, Marcus observed grimly. This is a fight to the finish. Sarah made a decision that would have been impossible in any simulation. Tom, can you overload our reactor? Tom looked at her with shock. You want to use our own ship as a weapon? If we are going to die anyway, we might as well take some of them with us, Sarah replied. How close would we need to get to cause significant damage? Tom's fingers flew over his engineering controls as he calculated the possibilities. If I remove all the safety protocols and overload the main reactor, the explosion would be effective within about 5,000 kilometers. But Sarah, that would destroy us too. The alien ships were moving closer now, their formations tightening around the damaged Meridian like a pack of hunters closing in for the kill. Their weapons continued to strike the human vessel, each hit causing more critical damage. Wait, Jake called out suddenly. I'm receiving a new transmission. This one is different from the others. On the main screen, the largest alien vessel appeared. It was nearly twice the size of the others and covered with more of the pulsing blue lights. As they watched, it began moving directly toward them with obvious hostile intent. That must be their command ship, Marcus said. If we could disable it, the others might lose coordination. Sarah saw an opportunity in their desperate situation. Tom, instead of overloading our reactor, can you redirect all available power to engines and weapons? I have an idea. Tom worked frantically at his station. I can give you everything we have, but it will only last for a few minutes before we lose life support. That should be enough, Sarah said. Lisa, plot a direct course for their command ship. Emma, prepare to fire everything we have at point-blank range. The Meridian suddenly accelerated toward the alien command vessel with desperate speed. The maneuver caught the aliens by surprise, and for a moment their coordinated formation wavered. They are trying to intercept us, Marcus reported. But our course change was too sudden. We might actually reach their flagship. The smaller alien ship scrambled to block the Meridian's path, but Sarah's desperate gamble was working. The human ship was moving too fast and unpredictably for them to coordinate an effective response. 15,000 kilometers to target, Lisa announced. 10,000. 5,000. Fire everything, Sarah shouted. Emma unleashed every weapon the Meridian possessed. Laser cannons, missiles, and even their small defensive guns all fired at once at point-blank range. The concentrated firepower struck the alien command ship's shields and overloaded them completely. The alien vessel's hull was exposed for the first time, and the Meridian's weapons tore into it with devastating effect. Explosions bloomed across its surface as critical systems were destroyed, but the Meridian paid a heavy price for its success. The alien ship's return fire at such close range nearly tore the human vessel apart. Entire sections of the hull were blasted away, and most of their remaining systems failed. Engineering is gone, Tom reported through smoke and sparks. Life support is failing. We have maybe 10 minutes of air left. The alien command ship was also in trouble. It spun helplessly through space, its blue lights flickering and dying. Strange gases vented from holes in its hull, and it no longer responded to signals from the other vessels. The remaining alien ships seemed confused by the loss of their leader. Their perfect coordination broke down, and they began moving in uncertain patterns around the 2 damaged vessels. Jake, are you getting any new communications? Sarah asked. Jake listened to his equipment through the static and interference. Yes, but it sounds different now. Less musical, more urgent, like they are arguing about something. Sarah realized that the battle had reached a critical moment. Both sides had taken heavy damage, but neither had achieved complete victory. What happened next would determine whether they all died in this empty region of space or found some way to end the fighting. Looking at her injured crew and her damaged ship, Sarah knew they could not survive much longer. But somehow they had managed to hurt their opponents badly enough to make them reconsider their attack. Maybe now they will be willing to talk, Sarah said quietly, hoping against hope that first contact between humans and aliens did not have to end in the destruction of everyone involved. The Meridian drifted through space with its power, failing and its crew fighting for survival, while 8 alien ships tried to decide what to do with the humans who had proven far more dangerous than anyone had expected. The silence that followed the destruction of the alien command ship was broken only by the sound of emergency systems struggling to keep the Meridian operational. Sarah looked around the bridge at her exhausted crew and knew they had reached the end of their strength. Life support down to 8 minutes, Tom reported weakly. Blood ran down his face from a cut caused by flying debris, but he continued working at his damaged console. Emma slumped in her chair, her weapons station dark and useless. All offensive systems are offline. We do not have any fight left in us. Jake was still monitoring communications despite the static filling his equipment. The alien ships are still out there, but they are not moving toward us anymore. I think they are as hurt as we are. Sarah watched the main screen where the 8 remaining alien vessels drifted in space around them. Several showed visible damage from the battle, and none of them were firing weapons. The destruction of their command ship seemed to have shocked them into inactivity. Maybe they are deciding whether to finish us off or just wait for us to die, Marcus said grimly. Lisa checked her navigation display with shaking hands. Even if they leave us alone, we cannot reach Europa Station with our engines this damaged. We would need at least 3 days, and we only have minutes of air left. Sarah felt the weight of command more heavily than ever before. As squad leader, she was responsible for the lives of her 5 friends. They had fought bravely against impossible odds, but now it looked like they would all die together in the darkness of space. I am sorry I got you all into this, Sarah said quietly. If I had realized this was not a simulation earlier, maybe we could have avoided the battle. Marcus looked at her with respect instead of blame. You did not get us into anything, Sarah. We all made the same mistake about what was happening. And when we realized the truth, you led us better than most real officers could have. Tom nodded agreement. We hurt them badly. If other human ships encounter these aliens, at least they will know that we can fight back. Jake suddenly straightened at his communication station.
Wait, I am getting something new.
It sounds like a single voice instead of the group communications we heard before. The bridge filled with the now familiar musical tones of alien communication, but this time the pattern was different. Instead of complex harmonies, they heard simpler melodies that rose and fell with what sounded almost like emotional expression. It is trying to say something to us, Jake said with excitement. The computer is starting to recognize some patterns. Look at this. On Jake's display, translation algorithms worked frantically to decode the alien message. Slowly, words began appearing on the screen, though many were still marked as uncertain. Greetings. Unknown. Warriors. Acknowledge. Strength. Propose. Cessation. Hostilities. Sarah stared at the partial translation with amazement. They want to stop fighting? More words appeared as the computer's understanding improved. Request a communication, terms, survival, both groups. Emma looked up from her dead weapons console. They are asking for a truce? The alien communication continued and more of the translation became clear. What emerged was a message that none of the cadets could have imagined when they woke up that morning. The aliens identified themselves as scouts of the hegemony, a confederation of species that had been probing human space for months. They had expected to find a single patrol vessel, not what they now believed was an advanced human warship with revolutionary capabilities. The destruction of their command ship had convinced them that humans possessed military technology, far superior to their intelligence reports. The tactics used by the Meridian were unlike anything in their databases, and the crew's willingness to risk their own lives in a ramming attack had shocked the alien commanders. They think we are elite special forces, Marcus said with disbelief as more of the translation appeared. They have no idea we are just cadets in a training ship. The alien message continued with what could only be described as respect for their opponents. The hegemony had fought many species during their expansion across the galaxy, but they had never encountered enemies who combined advanced technology with such unpredictable tactics and fierce determination. Most shocking of all was the final part of the message. The hegemony commander was offering something that had never happened before in their military history: unconditional surrender to avoid further losses against what they believed were humanity's finest warriors. "They want to surrender to us?" Lisa asked in amazement. Sarah could hardly believe what she was reading. 6 cadets in a damaged training ship had somehow convinced an alien battle group that humans were too dangerous to fight. "Jake, can you send a reply?" Sarah asked. Jake worked at his communications equipment. "I think so. The computer has learned enough of their language to construct basic messages." Sarah thought carefully about what to say. This was no longer just about their survival. This was first contact between humanity and an alien civilization, and her words could affect the future of both species. "Tell them we accept their surrender," Sarah said finally, "and tell them we are willing to discuss peace between our peoples." Jake translated her words into the musical language of the aliens and transmitted the message. The response came back quickly, filled with what sounded like relief and gratitude. Over the next hour, as the Meridian's life support systems slowly failed, an incredible conversation took place between the dying human ship and the alien vessels around them. The hegemony ships provided emergency atmosphere to keep the cadets alive, while detailed negotiations were transmitted back and forth. The aliens learned that they had not been fighting elite human warriors, but young students in their final training exercise. This revelation amazed them even more than the battle itself. If human cadets could fight with such skill and determination, what must their actual military forces be capable of? For their part, the cadets learned that the hegemony was not the ruthless enemy they had imagined, but a confederation of species seeking to expand their territory through conquest. The unexpected defeat at the hands of human students had forced them to reconsider their entire strategy. When rescue ships from Europa Station finally arrived 12 hours later, they found an unprecedented scene. The badly damaged Meridian was surrounded by alien vessels that immediately transmitted surrender messages and requests for peaceful contact with human authorities. Sarah and her crew were rushed to medical facilities while military intelligence officers tried to understand how 6 cadets had achieved the first alien surrender in human history. The cadets themselves were sworn to secrecy about the details, but word of their accomplishment spread quickly through the fleet. The formal ceremony took place 2 weeks later in a classified location. Sarah and her 5 teammates stood at attention while Admiral Morrison pinned medals on their uniforms and read citations for courage under fire and exceptional leadership in first contact situations. Squad Theta has demonstrated that the future of humanity among the stars rests in capable hands, Admiral Morrison announced. Their actions have opened a new chapter in interstellar relations and proven that human determination and ingenuity are our greatest weapons. As Sarah looked at her friends and teammates, she realized that their training exercise had taught them something no simulation ever could. They had learned that being human meant more than just following procedures or using advanced technology. It meant thinking creatively, working together, and never giving up even when facing impossible odds. The Hegemony Treaty was signed 6 months later, establishing peaceful relations between the 2 civilizations and creating new opportunities for trade and cooperation. The alien species were fascinated by human unpredictability and creativity, while humans gained access to advanced technologies and knowledge of other galactic civilizations. Sarah Chen was promoted to lieutenant and given command of the first joint human-alien exploration vessel. As she sat in the captain's chair of her new ship, she often thought about that morning when she had rolled out of her bunk expecting just another training exercise. None of them had known that by evening, they would make history as the first humans to receive an alien surrender. But perhaps that was the most human thing of all, achieving the impossible simply because they did not know it could not be done. The story of Squad Theta became legend in the fleet, inspiring future generations of cadets to remember that sometimes the greatest victories come not from superior firepower or technology, but from the courage to keep fighting when all hope seems lost, and the wisdom to show mercy when enemies ask for peace.